Hey everyone, we are back with the evening workout review. So today we had the base camp return to training post rest power ramps and a little bit of tempo at the end. And I've got Kevin up here for review. Kevin, it was great to see you again on the ride. We appreciate you coming every Tuesday and Thursday. And I know that you said you were out of town this week, so you definitely had your rest. So I think that is a good reason to look at your file. I did go through some accounts, and not everyone was following the rest, so it was hard to find a good one. But there are some specific things that happen in our bodies when we actually do rest, and they're not always exactly fun to deal with. And today we kind of talked about that fatigue blanket that we get really comfortable with. So when we are training and when we're in periods of acute overload and our bodies are kind of just like on autopilot, our endocrine system is used to the steady amount of stress and it's just kind of like ready. Our cardiovascular systems and our aerobic engines are up and running. We're not really giving them a ton of downtime. We're constantly feeding our bodies and dealing with the effects of exercise. And so that requires a lot of coordination of processes in our body, of physiological processes, central nervous system, endocrine system, musculoskeletal, our nervous system. I mean, pretty much like everything is, kind of running seamlessly to get us through the training cycle. And we are carrying a bunch of fatigue, but we don't necessarily realize it. We get just kind of comfortable with those types of feelings. Then when we all of a sudden rest for more than one day, so we rested for a few days here, everything sort of changes and our bodies, the system sort of reset into rest and rebuild mode, but that feels different. And especially when we come back to training after that, it feels really different. And it kind of feels like maybe we have regressed because things kind of feel harder. Um, but again, it just goes back to the systems just need a little bit of time to kind of fire back up and coordinate and get rolling again. And part of what we felt today is just those, like, we call it getting rid of the cobwebs or breaking through those and getting our systems up and running again. And we notice things feel harder, right? For the same power, maybe we're breathing harder, maybe our heart rate feels higher or it is higher. Um, and it just feels like maybe we're generally sort of clunky or uncoordinated. And those are all totally normal feelings. A lot of you seem to work through that today. And the workout that we had was really designed to get you through that. So we had an extra long warm up today. You can see here, we had our 1 minute fast pedals to open up the legs, get the heart rate going, get the circulation going, some extended endurance. And then we did 3 sets of 3-minute power ramps where we did a minute just below threshold, a minute at threshold, and then a minute just above threshold. Good, nice long recovery in between, some extended endurance, and then we finished up with tempo. So, how did that go today? Well, most of us felt pretty off in the beginning. Even though we normally get through the fast pedals and the warm up, we feel pretty good. Today it took a little bit longer, and especially when we hit that first 3-minute set of power ramps, people were sort of complaining a little bit that it just wasn't feeling great. I would say what I heard most was heart rate was higher and people just felt generally uncoordinated. And so again, when we go back to, when we're riding every day, we're doing cadence work, we're doing neuromuscular power activations, all sorts of different efforts with high cadence, low cadence, sitting, standing, we are pretty well coordinated, especially with all the emphasis we've been placing on that. And after a few days off, we just sort of, fall out of those movement patterns and we just needed a day to kind of reconnect those, or even just a few intervals. So if you look at Kevin's workout here, the first set looks like he had a little bit of trouble, maybe just like controlling the power. And I wouldn't necessarily say that, um, it's hard to say it was bad coordination, but he might have just felt like, okay, I'm trying some different things to make the power target, and he was kind of up and down a little bit. But you can see the second interval, he did sort of smooth that out, where you can see the nice power ramp where he was lower in the beginning, higher and higher at the end. And then on the final set, it seemed like he finally came around and felt significantly better. If you just look at his overall power, compared to the first two sets of power ramps. So it looks like he did work through that. And in the tempo, it did look like he started out kind of on the higher end. So probably my guess is Kevin was feeling pretty good by this point. He did let the power come down a little bit, but it's hard to say if that's because he was feeling bad. And my guess is not. But we were emphasizing, like today, we didn't want to do too much if we were feeling good. So the idea was, if you weren't feeling great, even by the end, by the tempo, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what we didn't want to do is overshoot and, try to really chase those power targets if we still weren't feeling great. Like we just wanted to feel better and more coordinated and more like we were more put together and feeling better by the end of the ride compared to the beginning. If you were feeling great, we didn't want you to overshoot targets either. Just today was just to do enough, because we have another big weekend coming at the start of another big training cycle. So in terms of execution and power control, I think Kevin did pretty well. Let's just look at his cadence. The emphasis was using on higher cadence today. And that's because, again, we weren't trying to add any fatigue. So we wanted to keep the legs moving quickly. So leg turnover faster. It's actually hard to see. So let me hide the others. Let's just look at his cadence, and I'm going to hide power. But yeah, so if you're with your higher cadence, you're focusing on those movement patterns and that neuromuscular coordination again. So kind of forcing that to come together more quickly. We're also emphasizing circulation. So getting things moving, get the blood moving, heart pumping faster, the circulatory systems, respiration, all of those things. We really just kind of want to like flush out today and get all the systems firing again. So that was the reason for higher cadence. It looks like Kevin did play around with his cadence a little bit. It looked high, and then he kind of dropped it. Maintained a little better on the second set of power ramps. And the third set of power ramps, his cadence was lower, and maybe he found that he felt better making the power. Again, he had a higher power output on the third set, but it does look like he used low cadence. So maybe he was struggling a little bit with that power cadence control today. Totally fine. Again, it's a work in progress, and today's workout wasn't long enough or hard enough to really create a lot of, lingering fatigue after that. So things are probably okay. The tempo looks really good. Higher cadence to start. It looks like it dropped off towards the end a little bit. Let's just look at the power again. So yeah, I mean, the higher cadence looked like, that's what was making the higher watts for the tempo. And then he sort of dropped it at the end. But again, that could have been totally intentional. He was still in his power or the tempo zone. So no big deal. Let's finally look at the heart rate. A lot of people set some new 2025 heart rate bests today. I was looking through. So one of the things that happens after rest too is that hormonal response. So like the adrenaline response when we start exercising again comes back a little bit stronger. So, when we come off a bunch of rest, we have that initial response. When we start exercising again, it's high adrenaline, high heart rate. And after some time of settling back in, we're used to that again. Like we don't have that same sort of stress response as we get more fit and as we get used to training more every day. So that will come back down. The other thing is, especially if you haven't been hydrating super well and you took time off of exercise, plasma volume can go down a little bit, which would make, once your circulatory system is up and at 'em again like it was today, it could make your heart rate elevated, so higher peaks and then taking longer to come down maybe. So you might be feeling and seeing a little bit of that. Again, totally normal. So just kind of watch how that calms down over the next few days, the next week or so, and then you'll see that your fitness hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there. We're just sort of, you know, challenging our systems to deal with the uh, fatigue to rest and back to training scenario. And it's a complicated environment inside our bodies that coordinate, like, again, all our physiological systems. It's also mental. So great job coming back today and staying control, staying with it, being positive. You guys were awesome to ride with, and really look forward to strong cycle 3. It's going to be challenging, but again, like, we're totally up for it, and we'll see you back on Tuesday with another workout.